Change the banner. All right, what's going on? This is Richie Contartesi with another episode of Seven Figure Commissions, where we work with sales reps, insurance agents, brokers, agency owners, business owners, entrepreneurs who want to improve, who want to get better, who want to serve their clients better, and ultimately, maybe not ultimately, but also make more. So, we're going to be talking all things sales, improving the game, numbers, and James, you're going to leave here with the next place. So we're live. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm ready for it.
Let's go, man. I love your attitude. Like you coming on, you weren't feeling well, but I'm glad that you came through, and you saying like, hey, I want to get better. I want to improve the game is powerful. So super excited to have you. But let's just start real quick. What do you sell?
Selling life insurance, term, whole life, index, universal, the long-term care, Medicare Advantage, Medicare supplements, and annuities.
Love it. Okay. And how long have you been doing it for?
3.5 years now.
3.5 years now. Okay, perfect. Mm-hmm. And for you right now, what do you feel like is your biggest challenge right now?
My biggest challenge right now, if I can narrow it down, I'd say 2 areas that I feel like I always need to improve at is always having more qualified clients or appointments.
Okay.
And say referrals, because you can never have enough of them. So that is going to be my 2 that I think that where I can always improve and be better at.
Okay. And so let's just start with the more qualified appointments. What have you tried to so far to continue to get more qualified appointments on your calendar?
So in my industry where I work, the most qualified appointment is someone that is turning 65 either the next couple months. Typically when we're 65, when it's entering that retirement era. So I've been doing a lot more door knocking. I'm also trying to transition into more of the management where I have my own team of agents. So I always take out the new agents and get them door knocking for me per se. So I've been going around knocking doors more, kind of grinding it out there on the doors, and also making more phone calls to those people that are in that demographic or in that area of retirement.
Got it. Okay. So do you have agents that work for you?
Not yet. We're getting there. We're in the process. So also another area is trying to find good young people that want to be in this industry as well. So we can add that on there as well. Finding new people.
For sure. Hungry, ready to go, huh?
Exactly.
Okay. So when you say door knocking, what do you mean? Because I always ask because I've had people say that and it means many different things. I've had one person say door knocking and it's putting a little flyer thing on a door. So when you say door knocking specifically, what do you mean by that? Is it calling? Knocking?
I have an app that I can put in who's turning to Medicare Advantage next 3 months, who's turning 65, and I'll have blips pull up on this map, and it'll be John Smith. So I'll go knock on his door. I introduce myself. Say, I'm James. I work in these areas. Here's how I can help. Good thing about what I do is I'm on the Medicare Advantage side. I work for 3 companies, and we have our own Medicare supplements. So I really can just lay out, hey, here's your doctors, here's your networks, here's what your prescription is going to cost, which one makes the most sense to you. And that's what I try to relate to the potential client and try to set up an appointment. I don't do any selling when I'm door knocking at that first interaction. It's more so saying, hey, I'm going to be back in the area next week on these days, what times work best for you. So that's what I mean by the door knocking. Yep.
Okay, so you're going around your setting. You're going around your appointment setting. Yep. Are you qualifying on this first initial visit?
In what sense do you mean qualifying?
Like making sure that it's just making sure that they're eligible, that they're going to potentially be a good fit.
Yeah, for sure. I guess the most point I will say, hey, are you going on to Medicare here in May if that's their birth month? Are you going on to Medicare, or are you just looking into it? And either way, that gives me a guide, I guess, of what we're going to talk about most. But a lot of the times, if they're not, hey, I'm still working for another couple of years, I don't need Medicare yet. Well, perfect. Let's transition to the long-term care.
Got
or
it.
talk about the retirement counts and going that route as well.
Okay. Now, are there any other things that you've tried or that you're doing to generate more qualified appointments?
I guess when I do get qualified appointments, try to get as many referrals out of those qualified appointments because qualified people know qualified people, you know.
Right.
I do have some mailers I'll send out, and then I'll go follow up on those mailers and hit the door knocks and try to set the appointments. But that's mainly my, uh, um, I guess, trying in terms of getting something out there in terms of what I've been doing.
Love it. Okay. So for your acquisition process is mainly you've got this app. It tells you who in your area is coming up on 65, who could potentially be qualified, and you're going out and you're basically knocking on their doors. So
Correct.
how many of these do you have in your area? Like, are we talking thousands, hundreds? Like, how many are
Yeah.
there?
So in Minneapolis, that's where I'm at. The Minneapolis area. I mean, there's thousands. There's thousands of people.
Okay.
You can pull up. I'm in Maple Grove, and it feels like there's unlimited amount.
Wow. Okay. So do you ever like go knock on a door, they don't answer? Do you go back to it? If you have thousands, how are you like managing all of these potential opportunities?
Yeah. So uh, basically, if I'm going to appointments on our field day and someone's not there, they porch us. Well, then we just go door knock. Who's next to us, and we'll go knock their door. If they're not home, they're not home. We'll go to the next one. So that way
Got it.
we're always knocking on someone's door if we're not at an appointment.
Got it. Okay. Love it. All right. So how many doors do you knock a week?
Probably myself, probably 10 to 30, 10 to 30. Because a lot of the times where I'm getting a lot of my appointments is from the phones, and I get a lot of, I can book a pretty solid day on the phones where I don't have a lot of this downtime. So myself, about 10 to 30 a week.
Okay. So you do have you're doing other things outside of knocking. Are you buying leads? Does your company provide you leads? How do you go about
Company
doing that?
provides the leads. Company
Okay.
provides the leads on our end.
Okay. So you have two ways you're doing this. One, you're making calls, and then the other one, you're door knocking, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so how do you differentiate what you should do? Like, how do you decide today I'm going to do calls, today I'm going to do door knocking?
Yeah. So how our week is scheduled up is on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we're out in the field where we're going and seeing clients. On Tuesdays and Fridays, it's our call days where we're in our office all day doing paperwork and then setting up our schedule for the next following field day. So ideally, on Monday, we have 6 to 7, 8 appointments. You go run them. If there's any downtime in between there, you're knocking on doors. So on Tuesdays, we go in, get all our paperwork done, and we set up our Wednesday and Thursday, and then go from there and keep that cycle rolling. But when it comes to what we should do is mainly, if you're not prospecting, you're presenting. If you're not presenting, you're prospecting. So that
For
is
sure.
kind of how we differentiate, when and how we should prospect.
Got it. Okay. Now, when you say we, I know you said you haven't built your team yet. Are you on someone else's team, or like how are you doing this with somebody else?
Yeah, well, our office is, we've got about 30 agents in our office in Minneapolis, and we have other offices in St. Cloud and Moorhead. So we're very much team based in terms of we're always with another person. So we're always working together in a group or as a pair. And so that is when I say we, I guess, is our whole office when I say we.
Okay. Are you guys, when you're at a pair, are you guys both selling the same products?
Yep, yep. So we go in and we say two brains is better than one.
I see. Okay, interesting. Okay, cool. So on how many knocks? Let's use last week for an example. How many knocks did you do last week?
Let's go back 2 weeks because I headed out of town on Thursday morning,
Okay,
and
yeah.
then now I'm sick this week.
Let's do this. Let's do for the month. How about that to make it a
Okay,
little bit more open? So for the month.
sure, sure. Uh,
Huh,
Probably about 45 this month.
okay. And then how many calls?
Ooh, how many calls? I probably do about 100 to 150 a call day, twice a week.
So let's say what?
So
Let's say 120, 250.
yeah,
Okay. And that also doesn't include the current meetings that you're already running, right?
correct, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And so this month, how many from those calls and door knocks, how many meetings did you book?
Ooh, for the month,
Yeah.
I average about 6 appointments a field day, and then about 2 on Saturday. So I'm doing about 20 appointments a week.
Okay. So on these field days, they're mainly set up for appointments, right? You're going for appointments, and then if either they no show or in between, that's when you're knocking. So you're not going out on a day specifically for knocking.
Correct,
Is that right?
correct, correct,
Okay. And so you're mainly setting your appointments from the phone calls.
correct. That's where the majority
All
of my
right.
appointments are from. Correct.
I see. Okay. Perfect. So how many booked meetings did you have this month?
Ooh, I do 20 a week, 20, 40, 60, about 70. 70 this month so far.
Okay. Beautiful. And how many of those 70 showed?
I would say about 45.
Got it. Okay. Got a 64% show rate. Okay, perfect. Now walk me through the process. They show you come, they show to the meeting, or they answer. Uh, Walk me through your sales process. You don't have to explain every little thing, but on that initial stage, what's the goal of that
The
meeting?
goal is, yeah, the goal is we show up, me and my new agent, and say, hey, here's why we introduce ourselves, warm them up with the client, and we do a fact finder. If it turns out, hey, what do you have in place? See if there's any holes, and then show them a presentation of what they're missing, and then ideally fix that problem with what we can offer them.
Love it. Okay, so you're essentially closing on that initial meeting.
Yeah,
That's
that's the goal. Yep, exactly.
as long as they have the problem that you solve, right? Got it. Okay.
Sure.
So of those 45, how many of them were qualified that showed?
That's the thing, because sometimes you think that they're qualified and you get there like, well, income and expenses are, I'm losing money every month. So sometimes I don't know, and then you run into some places like, oh, look at this ranky dank apartment, and all of a sudden they have $500 a month of. So I don't know, but the ones that I do know that are highly, in my mind, more qualified are the door knocks that I had booked, or people that I know that are in a better neighborhood or better area.
Yeah.
So I'd probably say
Well, I'm just
about
saying, like,
15
of those
of them,
45, yeah. So of those 45 meetings that you had this month, how many of them were qualified?
I'd say 15 of them.
15 of them? Okay,
Yeah.
got it. I see. Okay, perfect. So roughly 33% of them were qualified. Now, of those 15, how many of them purchased?
Ooh.
What up, Joe?
I'd say I'll be anywhere, 10 to 12.
Well, I mean, this month, how many of them purchased? How many purchases did you have of those 15?
Yeah, probably 10 to 12 of those 15, probably 10 or 12 of them.
Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so looking at this, let's say you had, we'll just say 295 reach outs. You booked and had 70 meetings. Okay. And I look at that as like I mean, I don't know if you have this statistic, but let's say you made 250 calls and you had, that's actually only for the week, right? We got it if you're making 125, that's 250 a week. So if we did 4 weeks,
Yeah.
that's 1,000 calls. Yeah. That's more like it.
Yeah.
And 45 times, let's see, 180. Okay. So to get those 70 meetings, you made 1,000, let's say roughly 1,180 outreaches, right? How many of those people did you talk to in order to get those 70 meetings?
We don't, I don't track how many dials I make out, but I'll probably say if I book 70 out of 1,000, probably 200 people I got in contact with.
Yeah. Is there a reason that you don't track connects?
I don't know. I just, whenever I got into our office, we've only done just dials instead of connect, but that's a great point. We should definitely be tracking that. I really don't know why we don't.
Yeah. And the only reason I say that, James, is because there's a lot of times, like, what do you use to make your calls? Do you use your phone, or do you have like a business phone in the office or a power dialer of some sort?
We just switched over to Zoom, so all our stuff is now going through Zoom that I use just right through my laptop here. We have our system called Oscar, so we use that. We use Zoom to use the phone. So I just use my laptop to dial out.
Okay. When you're dialing out, are you dialing out through Zoom? Like when you're making phone calls? Okay. You could do that on Zoom. I didn't even know that. Huh.
Yeah, neither did I.
Oh, okay, cool.
Pretty slick.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's why I say that is because there's a lot of phone systems today that really struggle with getting people or getting on their phones or their cell phones to show up as what you want it to show up as, which is James Hatcher, right? Versus a company name or versus what have you. Spam risk is one we see a lot. And so, we always highly suggest tracking connect so that you can determine, like, I know, like, we have a client right now that they have a 12% connect rate. If they're not, they have like 9,000 calls a week. So, but if they don't rotate that phone number consistently, then their connect rate goes down, which really it destroys the whole sales process. Like it destroys their collections. And so that's the first thing. I mean, you're saying right now that, let's just say you have 1,100. You're saying you have if you really talk to 200 people, that means you have a 16% connect rate, which is pretty solid, right? I'm just reading some of the comments here. All right, Joe. Joe's awesome, by the way. Richie's going exactly where I just went. Haha. Sales pipe, just call. Phone burners are very popular. So, by the way, let me just throw this up there because Joe's the man. But here are some of his recommendations. I know you're using Zima. I want to check that out. I want to learn about that because that's really interesting. And if you really are talking to 200 people, that's pretty solid. I mean, you want to be at 20%. But the power of using something along one of these is that it changes your phone number to always be in their area code. And I don't know exactly how Zoom does that. But anyways, let's get back into it. Joe, thanks, man, for shooting that in. It's valuable. So 70 booked meetings. How many booked meetings can you go on in a week? Like you personally, like how many, like what's the goal number of meetings?
The goal for myself is anywhere from 20 to 24. I do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday as my week. If I hit my numbers in terms of what I need to hit, and then if not, I use Saturday as a makeup. So it ranges from anywhere to 20 to 24. Really, do I earn my Saturday off or do I not? So I guess my goal is 20 for total between Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then Saturday is makeup. Sometimes I have 4 appointments, sometimes I have 1 appointment, or sometimes I have none. So depends on.
Now, are you talking about shows or are you talking about booked meetings?
Booked meetings, 20 on the books.
Okay. So this month you average what, 17.5? It looks like something like that. If you had 70,
the last week, the last week I've been off due to
you were
this
sick.
illness.
That's right. Okay, you were
Yeah.
out. Okay, that's fair. Okay, cool. Is that pretty typical that you get roughly half to show or a little more than half to show to these meetings?
That seems about being on par about what I experience and what my numbers are saying. So yeah, it's about average.
Okay. And what are you currently doing to try and get them to show right now?
So when on our call days, Tuesdays and Fridays, what's that?
So exactly when you're booking the meetings, what do you do to try to, ensure that they're there and they show up to the meeting itself?
Yeah, for sure. So if I call you on Tuesday, hey, I'm trying to see either Wednesday or Thursday, I repeat the day and time like 6 times before I hang up. Right. So, all right, see you 11 o'clock on Wednesday tomorrow. Don't forget about me. Throw you on the calendar. Again, Wednesday, 11. See you. All right, see you at 11. Bye. I say it 6 times. And I also let them know that, hey, I'm coming over to your house. Like I'm going to be there for about 35 minutes to an hour. So I let them know that I'm coming over. We're talking business. But let's say that I call you on Tuesday, and next week, next Monday, or next Tuesday, or excuse me, next Wednesday works best for me. Well, I'll call you the next Tuesday before I go see you, and make sure that you're going to be there. Because if not, then I won't show up, and I'll book someone else in that time. So I make sure before I go see them, whatever call day I'm on, I'll call them the either day before or 2 days before, just to reiterate that I'm coming over at this time. So that way, if they don't answer, well, I can put someone else in that spot.
Okay. So basically what you're doing is the day before the meeting, you're calling everybody.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Do you have any type of reminder system in place? Like, are you sending a calendar? Are they getting text reminders or email reminders or anything like that?
No, I have not implemented any of that. A lot of my clients are that 65 plus group. So I do a lot of, I just call them the day before and they're, throw me on your calendar. They have the physical calendar out, around the fridge. So.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so there's 2 things that stand out. One is the show rate, and then the other one is, and I'm sure we can go much more deeper into the meeting itself and split that up into stages, but for sake of this call, it's a little too deep. Is also like the qualified rate, right? 33% of the people that you're meeting with, not booked meetings, but that actually show, are qualified. Your close rate is good. It's pretty solid, but your qualified rate is really low. And so I'm thinking what might be a good next play for you is it focusing on show or is it focusing on getting qualified people to show? Does that make sense? So
yeah,
what are your thoughts on that from your experience so far?
Sometimes on my show rates or the show sits versus shows are off, because sometimes I'll have a chatty Cathy that goes for 2 hours and hey, sorry I missed you. That happens every night, once or twice a day too. So that's in the
like you're at one meeting and it goes way longer and you don't make it to the next meeting.
Yeah, that seems to happen once or twice. About once a day. That's one of them as well. Is that someone will sit there and talk with you forever, which is great, but you're missing out on another client. But,
can I ask you a question about that?
Go for it.
Do you have an intent statement when you first walk in the door? Like what to set the stage for the meeting itself?
No, let's sit at I always prefer to sit at the kitchen table, because that's where business goes down at the kitchen table. That's the only thing I really ask for. Then we sit there and we call it our warm up phase, where we sit there, we chat with the clients for essentially as long as they want to talk to us, and they say, all right, well, now it's time for business, and then kind of take control then. So it's pretty fun when we sit and talk to these, some of these retirees. They have plenty of stories.
I bet, man, stories.
Crazy.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So look, man, what's glaring at me right now is, I think, like when we look at 45 showed, 15 qualified. Let's just talk about the show, and I think you just nailed it on the head, which I actually see that happening a lot because of the demographic, right? And you said you don't have an intent. So if you'd like, I can share with you something that I was in a similar a client of mine was in a similar position, and we added something to the beginning of the meeting, and then from that point on, he was able to really, you know, be, I guess a good word would be, a leader of the meeting and be able to reel them in and not have to miss the next one. And it was a very short thing that was done at the very beginning of the meeting. If you want, I'd be more than happy to share
Let's
that
hear
with
it.
you. Okay. So I want to just pull it up really quick. Okay. So in your scenario, it's going to be a little bit different, but I'm going to give you the formula instead of like, I'll give you the formula. Okay. So first thing is building a lot of value in your offering, right? So what we did was something like, since we launched this offer or what we're doing, you know, we're having an overwhelming, you know, I don't know why my brain is like, it's like end of day, but we're having an overwhelming reaction. And so I have a lot of meetings, and so unfortunately we're going to have to limit this meeting to an hour. And I say that because I like to talk a lot, and you might as well. So if I get off track, reel me back in, and I'll do the same for you. Can I count on you to do that? And
Yeah, I
then,
like
you know,
that.
like, I mean, I kind of, that's off the cuff, but but the idea is you make it about like, you like to, like, can you help me because I like to talk a lot? And then what they'll always say to you, James, is they'll always say, absolutely. And then anytime they start going on a tangent, be like, hey, James, I really appreciate that, but I'm really limited on time. So do you mind if we? And they'll always be like, oh my God, you're right. Oh my God, you're right. Okay, totally fine. And then
I
boom,
like
you
that a
go right
lot.
back into. So when you sit down with them, your report built, how's your week going? It's going great. Obviously, you're not going to talk about the weather because that's obnoxious, right? But it's like your normal rapport building. And then it's like, look, since we've launched this current offer, just overwhelmed. We have a lot of meetings. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to limit this to an hour. What that does right there is it shoots up urgency for what you have to offer. Boom. So you already created urgency. Then from there, it's, we're going to have to limit this to an hour to give everybody the same opportunity. And I say this because I like to talk a lot, and you might as well. So if I get off track, I'll just ask that you reel me back in, and I'll do the same for you. Can I count on you to do that? And they'll be like, oh, absolutely. Now you can control and dictate the stories, the going off track.
I like that a lot. Thank you.
Okay.
I like that.
Do you want to give it a shot? So you sit down with me, James. Yeah. So what do you got for me?
Hey, listen. Yeah. Well, I know that I have a lot to talk with you about, and a lot of my clients are having this great, overwhelming reaction. And I like to talk a lot. Sounds like you like to talk a lot. But let's do ourselves a favor, and I got to limit this to an hour. So I have to be in X town in next hour. So can you help me if I ever get off track? Can I count on you to pull me back in?
Yeah. Yes. And I'll do the same for you. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, let me just do this really quick. Experience. everyone. I'm just going to give you this script.
Okay.
I like to
And
talk.
Joe, in your comments here, it's the Zoom app, and we have our own dial number, and we just use Zoom, and pretty click to dial. It works with our Oscar system pretty well. It's actually very smooth, and it's great because I've had the Zoom app on my cell phone. All my business calls go right to my cell phone, so it's been a very smooth process. We just got into it a couple months ago.
Love that. Thank you for doing that, man. Okay, so I'm gonna chat this to you. Can I chat this in here? I'm used to Zoom where I could just chat it to you. I guess if I post let's see here. Oh, it won't let me. Okay. Do I have your email? I do. Let me just quick email this to you.
Yep. Perfect.
And then because I want to, because tonality matters. Because if your tonality goes off, then it could be really off-putting. So let me,
for sure.
And I'm not saying you did. I'm not saying you did it all. You did good. I'm just I just don't want you to you know what I mean? Getting so here we go.
Yeah, that's funny you said that because I did one of our trainings. They put me in charge of it, and I did tonality as the topic.
Nice.
So I agree. Tonality matters.
Oh my God, dude! It's just as important as what you're saying. I mean, it's more. A lot of say it's more important. I believe it's more. All right, can you pull up your email?
I agree because I have. Yeah, I agree because I have one of my bosses does the exact same thing as another guy. You're like, well, why is he doing so much better than this guy? Says the same thing. Yep, I got it.
You got it? All right, let's try that.
All right. So since we launched our offer, we've had an overwhelming reaction. So unfortunately, we're at the limit our meeting to an hour in order to give everyone the same opportunity. And I say this because I like to talk, and you may as well. So if I get off track, reel me back in, and I'll do the same for you. Can I count on you to do that?
And they're going to be like, absolutely, totally.
Right.
And then now they just gave you permission, right? Because if you do it without getting permission, like 30 minutes in, it's going to come off rude. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you preface it in your intent statement, so you sit down, I'm sitting with you, James, super excited to meet with you. How's your day going? Real quick, James, before we jump into it, since we launched our offer, we've had this overwhelming reaction. So unfortunately, we're going to have to limit our meeting to an hour in order to give everyone the same opportunity. And I say this because I like to talk a lot, and you might as well. So if I get off track, I'm just going to ask you to reel me back in, and I'll do the same for you. Can I count on you to do that?
Absolutely.
Boom. So, I mean, just based on your numbers and this being our first session, and that would be my suggested play for you. Because if you're saying that's happening every day, you're potentially missing out on 20 meetings a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I like that a lot.
I feel like just this one play could and add let's say at a 64% show rate, it would be 22 because there's 22 times 64%. That's an additional 14 shows per month. And if you have 45 shows, right? That's an addition. That's 33% showed appointments a month. So if you take your commissions right now and you take 33% of your commissions and add it, you can make that additional on a monthly basis by adding this to your intent. So what do you think about that for a play for this?
I think that's a fantastic play. I think that's a great next play.
Dude, I love it. So here's my question. So every play that we ever describe's got to have a what, a how, and a when. So the what is is, implementing this in your intent when you first sit down, right? The how, though, is the important thing. And so whenever implementing something like this, the way you said it best, your tonality, the way you deliver it, it matters. So what do you feel like is a good how for you to be able to internalize this and start using it as soon as possible? Like, what do you feel like you need to do in order to successfully implement this?
We'll play it a couple times before I walk into the house, and then just tell them, say, hey, look, and essentially pull out my email. I can read this right off to them, and get on a good. I wish I wasn't all stuffed up. I would have much better tonality with you.
I get it.
Listen, here's why I'm here, and I like to talk. And by that point, I'm gonna say, hey, I know you like to talk, but we got to stay on track here.
You may like
to talk. You may like to talk. So that way, I can, show everyone the same thing, and just read this a couple times and memorize it, and then get out and just execute.
Exactly, man. If you can, like you said it, man, practice it. Like I would take, practice, like it's probably going to take like reading it like 50, 60, 70 times and then saying it, and then internalizing it so that when you step in the house, you're not reading it. You're just like, and it's very natural. You're kind of laughing at yourself. It's kind of like deprecating. You're deprecating yourself. And then they're going to laugh, and then it'll also break the ice. It'll make it like, when you first sit down, it could be like 10, like getting them to laugh up front will create some like relaxing. And then,
everyone starts like this, and you ease them until they're like, until the arms come down.
If you say this right, and I've done this, and the people that we've taught done this, and they will, I promise you, they will laugh and they will say yes, and it'll lighten the mood and it'll make things much easier. So cool. So the play is, we're going to implement this. You've got the script, and you're going to, maybe read it if you want it 40, 50 times, and then just practice it. And then you go into a house and you implement. When do you think you'll be able to, today's Wednesday. When's your next appointment day?
Supposed to be tomorrow, but I don't think I'm going to be out and about seeing retirees with the sickness. Earliest Saturday, most likely I'm definitely working Saturday if I'm able to, but Monday for sure.
Beautiful. So you've got 2, 3, potentially 4. So 2 or 4 days to just internalize it and get really good at it. And I think this is going to make a big impact for you.
For sure.
Cool.
Appreciate it, man.
Awesome, man. So you feel like it's a good next play? Feeling good?
I'm feeling good. I'm ready for it.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And it sounds like you answered some of the questions here from Joe, so I appreciate that. James, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing where you're at. And there's a lot of people that can watch this and hopefully take a nugget away from this. So thank you so much for being on the show, and for everyone watching, thank you for attending. Hope you were able to take some nuggets from this, and look forward to seeing you all tomorrow at the same time. For you, James, thank you so much, and I'll see you later.